Hello, it's the Friday Talkie and I'm grinning because I just balls my lines up again. Take 5 billion, maybe. Got a few things to talk about, and the first is a big thank you to Chris of chrismadagames. Big thank you. He very generously donated this here game, Burning Road, for the PS1. I've never played it. I have seen some video of it. It looks like the kind of game I could have a good deal of fun with, so expect a video of that in the near future. Again, thank you Chris. Link to Chris' channels down there, chrismadagames. Okay, next I've got a video response to a video by Monkey Spaz 5000. That's a name and a half, isn't it? Yes. When are retro video games too expensive for you? It's an interesting question because it is very relevant. Having spent £50 on that recently, Radiant Silver Gun, I spent 50 quid. It was a bargain, and as I've explained before, it's because it had a reproduction sleeve rather than an original, but the disc itself was original. Anyway, I spent 50 quid. My wife was horrified because, to be fair, money is quite tight at the moment, and to her mind, £50 on a video game was insane. And what was I thinking of? And I understand her thinking. And any other game I wouldn't have dreamed of spending that kind of money. But I knew I would never see it again at that kind of price. And it was a holy grail. Anyway, she understood when I explained it. But yeah, that is a lot of money. And that was a bargain for that particular game. So when are games too expensive? For me, it actually really depends on how much money I have at the time, or how well I'm doing. You know, is money tight or not? Because over my life, I've found myself in varying financial situations. I've been so hard up that the most I could afford for a meal was perhaps beans on toast, or actually there was a time I was living on pasta and minced beef for several months. I got quite ill, vitamin deficiencies and everything. I was hard up. I was really struggling. I know what it's like to not know how you're going to pay your rent or where your next meal is going to come from. Things, thankfully, are not that tight right now, but they are quite tight. But anyway, I've also found myself in a situation where I've had a well-paid job for a good few years and had quite a lot of spare cash, and that's how I come to have all of this, really. It was just a warehouse job, but my outgoings were not great. I had quite a lot of spare cash, and I would spend quite a lot of money on retro gaming stuff. So I suppose with me it entirely depends on how much money I've got at the time, how well I'm doing. Not just have I got a large sum of money in the bank, but is it consistent, is it going to keep coming in, or do I have to live on it for a time? If I had a well-paid, reliable job, I won't say money would be no object, but I have a Neo Geo AES. I only have 2 games for it because I don't have much money coming in these days. But if I was back in that warehouse job that was paying quite well, I would probably... Actually, I probably need to be in a better paid job than the one I was in. But if money was not an object, I would not think twice or bat an eyelid at spending the £1,000 it costs to get the cartridge AES version of Metal Slug if it came up. Because that game goes for that kind of money. The first 3 Metal Slugs on the Neo Geo AES go for insane money. Multiple hundreds, if not into the thousands. And if I had the money, I would spend it. I really would. But I'm not in that situation these days anymore. Money is a worry. So that £50 that I spent on Radiant Silver Gun, that was the absolute limit, and it was a holy grail. It was the only game I would spend that kind of money on in the circumstances I find myself at the moment. Mostly, you know, 30 quid is the limit these days. Yeah, more than that, and I would really have to give myself a stern talking to. But yeah, that is the thing. I think it all depends on my financial circumstances, and 50 quid is probably the upper limit. I mean, I was feeling a little bit flush at that time when I bought Radiant Silvergun. 50 quid, I knew it was, yeah, that was an extreme circumstance, but generally at the moment 30 quid, and then it's only like 1 or 2 of those a year, really. I hope that changes in the future and I'll be able to afford more. Then I mean, I modern games, I very rarely will I buy them when they're brand new. When, you know, at release they're £40 or £50, and I'm like, can't really justify spending that on a video game, and that's when they're brand new. I suppose with retro you have that thing, it's not just about the game, it's about the collectability, the rarity. And it has to be something pretty special and pretty desirable to command a high price anyway. And I suppose if 20 years from when it was out, or however long ago it was, I can't, what year was that? $1998. So, you know, quite a while ago. For that to command a high price now, depreciation is not too much of an issue. And I know it's been released on like Xbox 360, but that doesn't seem to have affected the value of it greatly as an original disc for the Saturn. It still commands crazy money. So spending a lot of money on a retro game is actually a better investment than spending a lot of money on a modern game, because it will hold the value, mostly. Yeah, so I guess to answer the question, when are retro games too expensive for you? For me, when I haven't got the money. That ultimately is what it comes down to. If I haven't got the money, they're too expensive. If I've got lots and lots and lots of money, which is rare to almost never, then I'll spend crazy money. But there aren't many games that I really want. I mean, the Metal Slugs on the AES would be one. I don't expect to have that kind of money in anything like the foreseeable future, because I just never do. Yeah, that was all a bit rambling, wasn't it? Okay. Anyway, that's kind of got me moving on to another topic, really. My attitude towards the Sega Saturn since getting this, and in fact, fairly recently, I've been getting into the Japanese import games, and I just very recently got that as well, Power Drift, because there had been a few games that I wanted, like, God, I can't even remember what they were, a few Japanese imports, and I've kind of really gotten into the 2D sprite scaling thing on the Saturn as a retro system. Back in the day, the PS1 for me was it. 3D was a thing. I mean, I've been getting interested in 3D gaming since the Amiga. It had been sort of a viable thing. Granted, they were flat shaded polygons, but I bought lots of games like that. Jeff Crammon's Formula 1 Grand Prix, epic, loved it. And the game, epic, loved that as well. Stuff like that, flight simulators, I played quite a few. Elite and Elite, what was it, Frontier, Elite 2. Stuff like that, polygons, 3D. So, when the, and I had the 32X as well. And that was all flat shaded polygons, loved it. I was really into the 3D virtual world as a concept, wanted it badly. So the PS1 came out, and in terms of 3D, there were more easily available, polished 3D games than there were for the Saturn. So I didn't even consider the Saturn. I didn't... When they both came out, I was sort of sitting on the fence thinking, I'm not going to buy either for a while because they're expensive, and I want to know, is this going to be like the VHS and Betamax? One will survive and one won't. I'd seen the 32X and the 3DO and the Jaguar fall by the wayside. And I thought, there may only be one big winner here. I want to back the right one. In the end, I settled on the PS1. It just plain did 3D better. First-party games were great. Third-party games were also great. Whereas with the Saturn, first-party Sega seemed to be the only people who could do 3D effectively on it. And that, to me, didn't make it a good bet. And I think I made the right decision for the time. As a cutting-edge piece of hardware, the PS1 was just plain better. However, now, as a retro system, I'm actually finding the Saturn more interesting. PS1 games that I go back to and play or think are worth playing on a regular basis, there are not so many. Because 3D, well, there's tons of it on other systems, like later systems. Gran Turismo on PS1 and Gran Turismo 2, great games, love them. But if I'm going to play a Gran Turismo game now, I might as well play a more modern one. However, 2D sprite scaling games, not so much on the modern things. Yes, there are some, but I just find the ones on the Saturn give me a buzz in a way that something on a modern system doesn't. I don't know exactly what it is. I think it's just the idea that, wow, this umpteen years old console can do something like that and give me a thrill and a buzz in a way that a modern one, I'm just like, eh. So the Saturn to me is as a retro system now, I'm finding it very, very interesting and compelling, and it's with this, if I can pull the thing out, I can't, yes I can, that, it's a Chinese knockoff, I said Japanese in my video yesterday, and of course it's Chinese, it's a knockoff of a Daytel Action Replay. It's got the RAM expansion, it's got the game save memory thing, it has got the region protect thing, region removal, whatever. You can play any region on it, and it's got the Action Replay cheat code for what's it, so you can do cheats on games. I should do a cheat on Radiant Silvergun really, so I can see the whole game, or maybe I should just learn how to play the thing properly. This in a Saturn makes the Saturn to me as interesting as a Mega Drive and 32X with an EverDrive in it. These are just things as a retro collector that I think are fantastic, and it makes me want to collect for the Saturn. And I'm actually, I mean, because it won't run burnt discs, I haven't got the chip thingy in there, it's making me buy games, import games, because I just find the import games on the Saturn are so much more interesting and diverse and sometimes just plain mind-boggling in a way that the PAL releases weren't, because they're not just trying to do 3D, they're not trying to keep up with the PS1, they're doing their own thing, and I like their thing. That sounds wrong. I'm trying to plug this back in. It's a bit snug. There. Okay, that's that. Saturn. Finding it cool. Yeah. What have I got next? Okay. Another video response. Okay. Edit myself back in. Video response to Novabug. Growing older with gaming. And he's kind of asking the question, do you think it reaches a point where people, or we, will be too old for gaming? As in, will people look at a geriatric 90-year-old whatever person playing a video game and think it's wrong. And would it be wrong? Is it unseemly for a pensioner to play games? I don't think so. Personally, I hope. First of all, I hope I even live to 90. I don't expect to. I don't expect to get past 75 because people in my family just are not long-lived. Either side of my family, they die. It's quite worrying. Cancer is a thing in my family. Cancer and strokes. So 75, I'll be doing well. And I'll tell you, so long as my eyes hold up, and there are no guarantees of that because they're in terrible shape. Yeah, I still plan to be gaming at 75. I think the thing with me is I don't give a crap what people think if I game. I mean, I game at 45. I started gaming at 4, give or take a bit, on the electromechanical games. I've told that story many times. And I wanted a games console long before I could have one. I mean, the first thing I got was Pong. But anyway, so I had video games through my teens, and it was kind of expected among the people who I had around me, family and some friends, that it was a kid's thing, it was a teens thing, and by the time you got to your 20s you were too old and you would stop. And I did find that when I hit 21, 22, something like that, I was still playing video games. I was playing them on my Acorn Electron. And then later on the Mega Drive and Amiga. But while I was playing them, especially while I was playing them on my Electron, people who saw that I was playing them in my 20s were saying, "What the hell are you doing that for? That's a kid's thing. Why are you doing a kid's... Why are you playing with a child's toy?" And I was pretty ticked off that they would even ask such a question, because to me it was a fun thing to do. I was enjoying it. I played Elite a lot. And Elite isn't really a child's game. It never really was. Yes, kids would be into it, but it was cool. It was a space simulation trading game, and that took a little bit of brain power to be good at it. And yeah, I was ticked off that people would say that's a kid's thing, you shouldn't be doing it. And I was also befuddled that they thought such a thing, because it was like, well, how wrong could they be? Needless to say, I didn't give a crap what they thought. I put up with their jibes, there's an interesting word, and continued to play. And public perception seems to have come round and realised, okay, yeah, it's not a kid's thing. And it definitely isn't a kid's thing these days. I mean, your average gamer is in their 30s. And kids today who are playing video games and maybe looking at adults playing it and thinking, why are you doing that? This is a kid's thing. Well, I look at them and think, you don't know what you're talking about. I've been playing video games since before you were a twinkle in your... whatever. And I see absolutely no reason to stop. Getting older, I don't care if people think pensioners shouldn't game. I actually think that by the time I'm a pensioner, pensioners will be gaming, because people will have been gaming all their lives. It's like reading. Before TV, people read, and if they were into reading as a young person and they carried on reading, they read for their whole life until they couldn't see anymore. And like, there are pensioners now who watch TV. You don't stop watching TV. You watch it for your whole life. Why stop gaming because you get old? The only reason I can see to stop gaming is if you become physically unable to do that. Reactions will go out of the window, no doubt about it, reflexes and reaction times. But there are other games where reflexes and reaction times aren't a factor. You know, you can play some role-play type games or puzzle type games, all kinds of games where reactions aren't a factor and still have fun. And I think it's good for your brain. A lot of the Nintendo type stuff, I think, I mean, apart from the brain training stuff, which is obviously designed to be good for your brain, whether or not they work is another matter. But yeah, I think the thing that will stop me in the end will be my eyesight. I kind of expect. I mean, I don't have super mega strong glasses. They're quite strong, but the short-sightedness is not my problem. My problem is the disintegration of the interior of my eyeballs, all the vitreous detachment and whatever. I expect sooner or later my retinas will just decide, yeah, sod this, and will fall off of the, you know, they're going to disintegrate, maybe. Anyway, that might stop me gaming, but that will be the only thing. There are cats rampaging outside the door. Yeah, I think other than a physical inability to play games, I see no reason whatsoever for old people not to game. Society, to hell with what it expects. If it expects that people will stop, it's stupid. Gaming is good for you. It's good for keeping your brain flexible, hand-eye coordination, all those things. It gives you something to think about. Having fun is important. And I think when you get old, things that you can do that are fun are maybe harder to come by. You become physically limited. But if you can still sit in a chair and hold a joystick and watch a TV screen, game is good for you. Okay, that's that. I've got another topic. Okay. I was watching a video this week. Let me find the link. Of course, links down below to both Monkey Spaz and Novabug's videos. Yeah. Where's this one I'm looking for now? Okay, it's a YouTube creators video, and they've done a video called YouTube Creator Preview. It's fairly interesting in itself, in that it talks about some of the things that YouTube have in the pipeline. And one of them, I don't know if they've named it, but one of the things they're working on is what I would describe as a tips jar. And what do I mean by that? I don't mean tips as in give me a hint or clue or a piece of advice, because you know I wouldn't like that. But money. Something... What the fuck? Hello? Take your urgent message about my payment protection plan and fuck off. Tossers. Right, where was I? A tip jar. Some YouTubers, there are like things outside of YouTube where viewers can support YouTube channels financially. Patreon is one where you kind of pledge, or is it a monthly thing? You give money, I believe, on a regular basis for as long as suits you. And some channels are saying, okay, I'll get rid of the ads, here's Patreon, support me if you want to. Purely optional, and those who support at different levels get different perks, if I understand it correctly. And then other channels sometimes have a PayPal, what do you call it, donation button, or link to a page where they have one. I don't have these. I actually have a donation button on my website, but I don't promote the fact, though I just obviously did. But I don't look for donations because and I don't do the Patreon thing for a very specific reason, and that is I do not want to feel obligated. I have ads, and viewers can support me by watching those ads if they want to, but I don't encourage or discourage or anything. They're there, you can make up your own mind, and at the end of the day it is not coming out of the viewer's pocket. It is coming out of the pockets of the companies who pay for those ads. So it's like, you're not my boss, and I think I would feel awkward with the whole Patreon thing, where viewers could say, hey, we donated, we gave you money, you should give us what we want. I am my boss, I'm independent, I don't sign up to any of these networks because I want complete independence and I don't want to be answerable. But I was interested when I saw this thing about this tip jar. I mean, I like the idea that it's part of YouTube, it falls within their infrastructure, it's not off channel or off site, it's something that they maintain or whatever. I don't know what I think of it, for the reasons I just said about why I don't do the whole PayPal donation button thing, and I don't do Patreon. I want to stay independent and not be answerable. If I want to take a break and not make videos for a month, no one's donated and can't say, hey, I gave you money for videos, make videos, what are you doing? I'm sure no one would do that anyway, but I would still feel guilty, I think is the thing. By rights, I shouldn't even be interested in this tip jar. I shouldn't, because it goes against what I think about being independent and not being answerable. But it does interest me. For some reason, I can't really explain what it is. I wonder, what are your thoughts, particularly if you're a video maker rather than a viewer, but really everyone, thoughts on that? A YouTube tip jar, where there's a button you can donate to video makers, and I don't specifically mean me, I mean video makers, anyone who's making them. What are your thoughts? It strikes me as a very good idea. For YouTube I think it's good because it's keeping it all in one place. It's keeping people on YouTube and not going somewhere off site, because YouTube want people to stay on YouTube. It's good for them. Is it good for the video maker? Is it good for the viewer? I know people like to support YouTube channels. Partly, I mean, there's that whole parasocial thing that I talked about recently. It's part of that relationship thing, which is kind of a strange thing. But it is part of it. People do it. People want to donate. People support me. I mean, they don't send money, but they send games, and that really supports this channel, because it means I can keep making videos. I mean, I've got that many games I can keep making videos for years, but you know, it gives me something. I can make a video of a game I'd maybe never even thought of making a video of, and quite often that turns out to be a really good thing. I find games or play games that I didn't know that was a good thing. I've maybe never even heard of it. Yeah, so tip jar, YouTube tip jar. What are your thoughts on that? I am interested in it. Do I plan, if they implement it, do I plan to use it? It goes against how I like to do things, how I think about YouTube, how I think about my relationship with my audience. But money is tight. I don't know. It's a thing. It's a thing I think about. It's a thing I would consider. I don't know. Kind of uncomfortable with it, but who knows? But I am interested in what other people think about it, because I do think as a feature of YouTube, it's a good idea. This YouTube Creator Preview, link down there, I find that actually is a good video. It's telling us, YouTube telling us what they've got in the pipeline, what they're thinking about doing, and inviting comments and ideas and thoughts on it. Because for a long time they have been very, it's like there's been a big wall, a communication wall. They don't tell us what they're going to do, they just dump it on us, and then we jump up and down and scream we don't like it, and they ignore us mostly, though maybe not so much now. That whole little, was it Bob, the guy in the tank, I never thought that would have any effect. I thought it was nonsense. I thought people were kidding themselves. But hey, look, YouTube paid attention. How surprising is that? Yes, okay. Right, final thing, last but absolutely not least. I've got a shout out. And I would say I haven't done one in a while, but I did not that long ago. But here's another one. Njenkin. Njenkin, but his channel name is Njenkin. Link below. He is a YouTuber, obviously. Duh, what am I saying? I haven't formed my sentences yet. Okay. He does videos, as you would expect, gameplay videos of games on various different systems. I'm not pointing the camera at the screen like I used to because YouTube are arses. I've explained this before. Anyway, game reviews, loads of different games on different systems. We've got quite a bit of Amiga stuff here actually. Sensible World of Soccer, Grand Theft Auto, one or two, not sure, on the Game Boy Advance, 4D Sports Driving, Amiga, Supercars on the Spectrum. Yeah, a lot of Spectrum, a lot of Amiga. It's in one GBA game there. There's another one, Mario Super Circuit. Love that game. Now, style. This is what makes or breaks a channel, is the style of the presentation. His presentation is quite professional and very English. That's how I would describe him. His whole approach and way of talking is extremely English, and also he sounds like he knows what he's doing. These are reviews. He's not doing like I do and just bunging the game on and talking a load of old bollocks, because, I mean, I specialise in that. But he's thought about it. You listen to him talk while you see the game playing. I don't think he's... I think the commentary comes later and is added, you know, scripted. I don't know about that, but it's very well thought out and well paced, and it's well done. He sounds like a guy who knows what he's doing, and he's interesting and entertaining with it. He's got a fun personality. I just enjoy listening to him while I watch the game. So that is Njenkin. Nick's News and Reviews. I don't know how much news there is in there. Let's just have a bit of a scroll. Am I seeing much news? Don't know. Lots of gameplay. Reviews. Good stuff. Amiga. Spectrum. Bit of Game Boy Advance. Don't know what else. He's good. Do check him out. Subscribe if you like what he's doing, because he's good. I enjoy his work. Yes, 121 subscribers he's got at the minute. Let's see if we can boost that up a little bit. Okay, that's that. What's coming up then? No idea. I will be doing a video of that. Thank you again, chrismadagames. I will be doing, actually I've already recorded, but I might re-record a video of that. Power Drift. Fantastic game. Played it on the arcade game at Play Blackpool and loved it. Other than that, I don't know yet. I'll make it up as I go along, as I'm inclined to do. I think that's all. Feel like I've forgotten something, but I don't know what it is, so, well, bleh. Hear those eloquent words and sounds. I'll shut up now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider clicking the thumbs up button. I upload videos daily, so go ahead and hit subscribe if you'd like to see more. To all those who've already subscribed, I'd just like to say a great big thank you. Hello, it's the Friday Talkie. First off, because I've got a few things to talk about, I wanted to say... fuck me. Edit.